The Retirement Café Podcast, Episode 10, Why It's Never Too Late to Start a Business with Suzanne Noble.
Retired or thinking about retirement? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Retirement Café Podcast. In each episode, we bring you an important conversation with insight, tips and knowledge, all designed to help you live a fulfilling and successful life in retirement. Here's your host, Chartered Financial Planner and accredited later life advisor, Justin King.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Retirement Café Podcast. In this episode, I welcome Suzanne Noble. Suzanne co-founded the social enterprise Advantages of Age with the objective of challenging the media narrative around aging. Advantages of Age primarily looks to help those aged 50 to 75 feel valued in society. Suzanne's passion arose from her own personal experience of setting up a new business in her 50s and finding that it is completely different to any other stage of life. In my interview with Suzanne, she explains how she felt she still had a lot left to give, but that the support wasn't out there. Suzanne believes it's never too late to start a business if you have the right attitude. In a world where we are having to work much longer than any other generation, Suzanne talks about the work Advantages of Age is doing to support entrepreneurs and the success stories that they have been part of. I really enjoy chatting with Suzanne, so I hope you enjoy listening to our interview. So, welcome to the Retirement Café Podcast, and I'm really excited to be interviewing today or having a chat with Suzanne Noble, who has got a website all about the advantages of age. So, welcome, Suzanne.
Hello. How are you?
Very well. Lovely to chat to you. Could we start by you telling me a little bit about yourself and your background?
So I started my first business when I was in my late 20s, actually, and that was a TV production company based around a passion of one of my friends who was a burgeoning astrologer, and we created the first and only series still about astrology for Channel 4, a 12-part series about astrology. And I went from there to running a production company and then joining my then husband in a PR agency that he was starting that we grew to nearly 15 people with a turnover of about 1.4 million, mainly around home entertainment and entertainment. We were in the early days of the dot-com boom, so we got to exploit that and do quite well out of that. And then we worked for companies like Warner Brothers launching Harry Potter on DVD, Sony, BMG, Universal, all the big entertainment companies, you name it. Then I had my first son, and then a second one following 2 years after, started a baby sling business that I sold to one of my clients, did a few other funny things along the way, like produce a couple of sex education videos for adults, which we won't talk about. That was my big failure. And although it was helpful to some people, which is good. And then started Advantages of Age following a tech business that I created when my kids left home in 2014 and realized a bunch of things. One is that starting a business in your 50s was far different than starting a business at any other period of my life. And starting a tech business as an older woman was an enormous challenge. I'd been a very techie kid, and so when the opportunity came to downsize, sell my house, release some equity, and start something new, I thought, okay, I'm going to start an app for Londoners on a budget called Frugl. I'm going to throw myself into the London startup scene. Very quickly discovered that I was pretty much the oldest person in it. Which was freaky. And out of that sprung Advantages of Age, because I realized okay, we've still got a lot to give, especially within our careers and doing things that we're passionate about. And I didn't feel that anybody was really supporting that.
Sure. So tell me, what's the real aim of that? I mean, we can check out the website of Advantages of Age, but what's your real aim there with the service that you're providing?
It's changed over the years. We became a social enterprise in late October of last year. And we started off saying we're challenging the media narrative around aging. So the website was really created by myself and a really good friend of mine who's a journalist and does some PR work too. And it really was about trying to convey the benefits of aging. So we curated all the stories that we could find from other trusted sources like the New York Times, Washington Post, Huffington Post, etc. And then we started writing our own content around that. We then, following a grant from the Arts Council, started to get more into events, and we did a few events around that. And then in November of last year, we received a grant from the Paul Hamlin Foundation, which was really around my passion, which was around business. So there really are two parts to what we do. One is very much around the arts and culture side and around the community, which we've got a massive Facebook community of about 3,500 people. And we do events and we organize activities and we just talk about positive things around aging. And the other side, which is much more where I'm focused now, is around the business and that kind of business advice, business support, and trying to navigate this new world that we're living in where older people are really having to work much longer than any other generation probably did.
Sure. So, I mean, I can think, I don't know whether this is true, but I could think that some people that I've spoken to as they get older possibly might think it's, too late to start a business. I've missed my opportunity. I should have taken it earlier. What would your response to that be?
I think what we've seen from the Business Academy that we've run two, we're in the second cohort now of the pilot that we did with the Paul Hamlin Foundation. And I think what we're seeing is that, yes, there are definitely people for whom starting a business is possibly the only option they've got. The industry in which they worked, for instance, journalism, is drying up or has dried up, and there's no longer the opportunities that they once had. So starting a business really isn't so much something that they thought they wanted to do, but something that they have to do.
Right.
And I've seen that there's a lot of work that goes into creating an entrepreneur. For me, it's something I've been doing virtually my whole life. So change, adapting to change, just transitioning is something that I'm quite comfortable with, but I'm seeing that that's not the case for everyone. Having said that, there is a basic structure to starting a business, just like anything else. So, you need to know what the business is, who your market is, how you're going to position yourself, where you're going to find your audience, how you're going to finance it. And that really is the same for everybody.
Sure.
So, yeah, I don't think it's ever too late to start a business, providing you've got the right attitude.
Yeah, and I suppose the counter argument to that could be that if you're starting, a business later in life, that you're actually coming with a lot of experience, aren't you? You're coming with maybe a 30-year career in your field, and you've watched a lot of other people make mistakes, and therefore will probably have learned from that.
Absolutely. I think the biggest challenge that we're seeing is that these people have this whole bank of experience, but they lack the confidence to execute. So whereas with younger people, they sort of like dive right in. They've got all this enthusiasm and energy, but no skills really, and no experience, but just a huge willingness to kind of like go for it. Whether it's just like, hey, I started an Instagram feed, I invited my 500 friends, and hey, now I've got a business. No idea what it is, right? It's just like an Instagram feed. What we're seeing is a lot more reticence around older people, and that actually what they need to start with is just a huge confidence boost. So a lot of what we do is around confidence and resilience, because once they've got that, then they're like, hey, I'm pretty amazing. Actually, I've got 30 years of experience, and that's worth something.
Mm. So can you give me some real life examples of some people that you've seen go on this entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, so probably one of the more amusing participants that we had in the last cohort was a guy who had been the editor of Publican magazine. So he dealt with all the pubs and everything like that. And then he went on to form a communications business mainly aimed at the drinks industry. But off the back of that, he became a beer sommelier. So he's in the same way that you have an appreciation of wine and you're able to, he does that for beer.
Wow.
So then he started thinking, could I launch beer tastings, for corporates and for parties and things like that. So we started exploring what that business would look like. And now he's got a side hustle of offering beer tastings, which, to be honest, is really fun. He brought a few of them into the class one day, and it's fascinating because obviously we're experiencing a craft beer revolution. There's hundreds of these beers out there, all different, and he's able to kind of not just identify and tell you the difference, but also give you a bit of the history and the background. It's really quite fascinating.
Yeah, sure. And so, you're really interested in this kind of how do we build this opportunity, or I suppose build this confidence factor. If you've worked in a large corporate, or you've been a civil servant, or you've been in possibly a non-entrepreneurial type of role in most of your career, and project management or what have you, and i.e. the decisions for the direction of the business have been really made by somebody else, and all of a sudden maybe you've been made redundant, or for whatever reason there's been a change of market, and you're no longer, and you don't have the job that you've had for 30 years. How do you get someone to go, okay, well, build that confidence factor of, first of all, that their idea is worth pursuing, and then give them the confidence to take that action?
I think the major factor goes back to what I experienced, is that when you're starting a business and you're surrounded by a bunch of young people and you're going to lots of networking events, it's a very lonely place. And you can think, I don't know if I'm suited for this. Do I fit in? So much of what we do is around that peer-to-peer support, and around, because once you meet other people that are in the same position, that alleviates a lot of that feeling of loneliness. B, you realize that actually you might find your first potential clients within this group of people. You might be able to swap skills. Someone knows marketing, accounting or business planning or whatever. So having that support and finding that network of people. Just to give you a little example, I decided that I was going to trial a little business club to start with last summer, just in my flat. I have a nice place, decent sized garden, and I just thought I'll invite some local people just to come along, and over 50. That day, the first day, 5 people turned up. A hairdresser, a woman who sold natural supplements, a employment lawyer, couple of other people. Out of that group, within the first week, the hairdresser got 2 new clients. The employment lawyer got 2 new clients because I just randomly got a call from a friend of mine saying, I know someone who needs an employment lawyer. And I said, I just met someone, actually. And the woman who sold the natural supplements sold them to the hairdresser, and she sold to me. So, it was just amazing. I just thought, this is wild. 5 people, and we've all managed to get some, 3 out of the 5 have managed to get some business out of this. That's just incredible.
Yeah, the power of meeting people face to face.
And older people, I think, because you've just got a higher level of trust, right? You think we're all experienced.
Yeah. And what would you say to the person who possibly doesn't have any idea about their entrepreneurial well, I'm now not working for but I want to work, or I need to work, or I just have some passion. I'm finding difficulty finding a role because the jobs are going to possibly to younger people, because they're possibly less expensive. And they don't have an idea of what business that they should get into. How would someone find some kind of opportunity? What advice would you give them?
I think The word entrepreneur, firstly, is a bit of a scary word. It's a word that gets flung around a lot, and really the true meaning of an entrepreneur is somebody who wants to build a big business employing lots of people. Back when I was starting, we didn't use that word. I just used the word company director because that's what I was, right? Yeah. Starting a business can be anything from running a multi-level marketing business, like selling cosmetics or something in that space, to running a big tech startup, to dog walking, to teaching English as a foreign language. I mean, one of the things I'm currently doing is thinking, okay, you know what? There's a bunch of people who frankly don't have a clue what they can do, what they want to do. They don't really have an idea for the business. They're a bit scared of coming along to our group because they think, I don't have a business idea. Am I going to feel out of place? So a lot of what I'm doing at the moment is just looking at, okay, you know what are just the opportunities out there if you just need work, full stop.
Yeah.
Like, what can you do? What that where age is not really a big deal, all gardening is another one, right? So I'm looking at that as well. So I think don't be put up by the word entrepreneur. Really what we're just talking about is how can you work for yourself and make some money?
If we were having this chat again in, I don't know, let's say 5 years' time, what would you have liked to have seen happen in the aging space? What would your, the dream of the society's view of aging, or the entrepreneurial space? What would your, vision be?
I feel like where there's this tsunami coming and there's only a few of us that see it. Clearly, all the news and reports show that we're entering an aging society and that generally there's going to be a lot more older people in the world. Just generally. Japan and some of the countries out in the Far East are seeing that now. Japan's got, I think, the highest population of aging people in the world, and they're dealing with it in all sorts of quite interesting ways. There's all sorts of initiatives happening there, and I'm not seeing that here yet, so I'm a bit worried about that. And I would hope that within 5 years' time, some of what I'm talking about won't seem such a big deal, because corporations will have a place for older people within their organization that they've worked out, and they'll work out that, okay, if the older people are too expensive, how can we embrace them within our organization and deal with that? How can we upskill older people? Isn't happening at the moment. How can we create, how can we create a place for them in society? And I'm hoping that I'm not going to just be the same, just one of the few banging the drum in 5 years, that the DWP and others will have worked this one out and maybe used me as an advisor, because by then I'll be one of the leaders in this space. That's what I hope. And I'll be running lots of really exciting initiatives, and I'll be working with the DWP and others to try and help them work out what to do with all these older people. At the moment, that's not happening. So that's kind of scary, because I think, is it just going to be a big, mess?
Yeah. Yeah. And I can see huge benefits for society if you've got people who are engaged in their work and are finding some purpose and some fulfillment. That's just good for everybody, isn't it? It's good for the individual, it's good for the community, it's good for the economy. I can't see much negative news coming out of that story.
No, agreed. And it's shown that when people work, they feel they have a purpose. And when they feel they have a purpose, they feel happier. And it impacts on their mental health, and it impacts on the community and the economy, as you say. So it's good for everybody.
Yeah.
We just have to work this one out, though, because at the moment, it's not good for a lot of people. And that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of my friends being made redundant. I'm seeing people I know that don't have a mortgage or a home and are worried about their living situation, and, no work. It's a very, very frightening place to be.
So, Suzanne, this has been a fascinating conversation. what I'd like to know, what would your one key message be to, someone who's possibly feeling that they're past their prime, they've maybe possibly missed their opportunity to start a business in life, etc., but have got to that point and going, you know what, I there's more to life. I haven't quite achieved everything that I wanted to achieve. What would your key message to that listener be?
Well, my key message to them would be, obviously, to join Advantages of Age on Facebook.
Okay, no
and
problem.
to join the conversation, and also just to look around their local community and see what kind of other support that they can get, because there are organizations doing stuff out there, not too many, but some. So yeah, to get out, out there.
Brilliant. So where can people find more about Advantages of Age and yourself?
So the best place to find us is, we have a large Facebook group that's called Advantages of Age, Baby Boomers and Beyond. Got a couple of pages that are Advantages of Age Business Academy, and just around more business support. And our website is advantagesofage.com.
Brilliant.
And I'm Suzanne at advantagesofage.com.
Fantastic. Well, I will put all of those addresses in the show notes.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for your time today. It's been absolutely fascinating chatting to you, and I really do wish all the success in the world to all your initiatives, because they fill me with enthusiasm for the aging community. So once again, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Take care. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you to Suzanne Noble of Advantages of Age for joining me for this episode of the Retirement Café Podcast. Suzanne has had a varied work life, and I feel she's really tapped into the need to provide practical and social support for people over 50 to feel like they can continue to make a contribution. Many of our clients at MFP Wealth Management continue to work past their normal retirement age and are involved in lots of different things, from community aspects to non-exec directors to starting their own small business. So Suzanne's comments really resonated with me. If you have enjoyed this episode, please leave a review on iTunes or on your favourite podcast player, where you can also subscribe to never miss an episode. You can find the show notes for this interview, including links to the Advantages of Age website and Facebook groups, at theretirementcafe.co.uk. Until next time, this is Justin King, helping you feel more informed in your retirement.
Thank you for listening to the Retirement Café Podcast with Justin King. To find out more, you can find us online at theretirementcafe.co.uk.